Welcome back to The Paper Pursuer. There's two more articles for the show notes for episode 1190. One's kind of long, the other's rather short. I'm going to see if I can get them both in this video, but if it goes too long, then I'll make a second one. So the next article comes from PJ Media. It's titled, Trump Flips Ninth Circuit Court Like a Boss and Gets a Huge Win in His Quest to Defund Planned Parenthood by Megan Fox, February 24th, 2020. For the last 40 years, at least, conservative media and thinkers have lamented the absolute ridiculous rulings that have come out of the Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Many of those rulings targeted Christians, maliciously removing religious symbols and forcing pro-life crisis pregnancy centers to advertise for abortion clinics. More recently, the Ninth Circuit tried to stop Trump's travel ban, a ruling that was slapped down by the Supreme Court, a common occurrence. But the long reign of terror by the fruits and nuts on the California court appears to be finally over, thanks to President Trump. Trump has appointed 10 constitutionalist judges to lifetime positions on the San Francisco court and has effectively tilted the balance in favor of conservatives, which is sending waves of fear through the left, the Los Angeles Times reported. One of the senior judges who will be deciding cases on merits panels, reading briefs and issuing rulings, 10 are Republicans and only 3 are Democratic appointees. Ninth Circuit Judge Milan D. Smith said, "You will see a sea change in the Ninth Circuit on day-to-day decisions," Smith predicted. The LA Times went on to predict that the court would swing the president's way on reproductive issues. We didn't have long to wait to see that come true. For the first time that I can recall, I'm able to report that the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has finally ruled correctly, deciding on Monday that the Trump administration has every legal right to continue stripping federal funding from the baby butchery known as Planned Parenthood. Excuse me. The Daily Caller reported, the court upheld the Trump administration's June 2019 declaration that taxpayer-funded clinics must stop referring women for abortions or be stripped of their Title X funding. The rules, which advance President Donald Trump's promise to stop funding businesses that perform abortions, require that organizations that perform abortions and make abortion referrals will have to do so in separate buildings from those that receive Title X federal funds. Today's ruling is a vindication of President Trump's pro-life policies and a victory for the American people. Susan B. Anthony List President Marjorie Denfelser said in a statement, adding that abortion is not family planning and that a strong majority of Americans oppose taxpayer-funded abortions. Planned Parenthood withdrew from the Title X program and gave up $60 million of our dollars as a result. That's a huge win for the pro-life movement, which has been lobbying to stop all taxpayer funding of Planned Parenthood. Of all the successes that Donald Trump has achieved, this might be the most satisfying, with the greatest return on investment for America. And then there's one more little thing here. Remember those aborted baby parts for sale? Our government bought them with your money. I have a feeling that's a link to another article. So that's the end of this one. And of course, when I post this, I'll make sure I have the links to the articles if you want to pop over and see some of the other, where they'll add in hyperlinks to other articles or information. So here's the longer one coming up now, and it's from the Federalist, and it's titled, Did Obama's DOJ leak Michael Flynn's Russia phone call to help to set him up? Did the Department of Justice leak or arrange the leak of Michael Flynn's call with Sergei Kislyak to get around the FBI's effort to keep secret the investigation of Flynn? This is by Wilson Miller, February 25th, 2020. One of the great mysteries of the Trump-Russia saga that remains unsolved 3 years later, or at least uncharged, is who leaked General Michael Flynn's calls with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak. As incoming national security advisor, Flynn spoke with numerous foreign officials in this lead-up to inauguration. This included a conversation with Kislyak on December 29, 2016, in which they discussed, among other things, measures taken by the Obama administration. Also on December 29, to expel Russian agents and levy financial penalties in response to Russia's malicious cyber-enabled activities relating to the 2016 election. Russian President Vladimir Putin publicly responded to these sanctions the next day. He declined to escalate the situation, promised there would be no retaliatory expulsions, and said he would take further steps towards restoring Russia-U.S. relations. According to the statement of offense filed in Flynn's criminal case on December 31st, Kislyak called Flynn and informed him that Russia had chosen not to retaliate in response to Flynn's request. Meanwhile, President Obama's Presidential Daily Briefing, PDB, staff wondered why Putin didn't retaliate. Andrew McCabe, who was serving as the FBI's deputy director at the time, maintains that PDB staff requested information on Putin's response. The intelligence community answered. It turns out that they had information on Flynn's calls with Kislyak. McCabe wrote that he shared this information with FBI Director James Comey, who passed it on to Director of National Intelligence James Clapper. It was Clapper who informed President Obama. The Department of Justice had this information as well. In his book, The Threat, McCabe noted that, at Justice, one question arose. Was this a violation of the Logan Act? By then, the counterintelligence investigation of Flynn, which started months before the election, was well underway. And it looks like Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates was on the case. According to Byron York, Yates told Congress that the Logan Act was the first reason she intervened in the Flynn case. While the Logan Act may have been the reason she intervened, it appears she and other Department of Justice officials had been briefed on the entire span of the FBI's Russian election interference collusion investigations. While Yates was allegedly concerned about the national security risks from Flynn's call and his underlying conduct, the FBI wanted to keep their investigation of Flynn secret, McCabe wrote. We felt we needed time to do more work to understand the context of what had been found. We don't just run out and charge someone based on a single piece of intelligence. We use intelligence as the basis for investigation. Yates and the DOJ disagreed, likely concerned about having an ongoing counterintelligence investigation on the incoming National Security Advisor. Yates wanted to do something about Flynn as soon as possible. McCabe continued. Justice was more concerned about doing something immediately. The department began pressing us to brief the president-elect's team about Flynn. We were concerned that this might make it back to Flynn and destroy our ability to continue vetting the information quietly. The DOJ got their chance to push the FBI for action against Flynn when his call with Kislyak was leaked to the Washington Post reporter David Ignatius. His January 12, 2017 article states, according to a senior U.S. government official, Flynn phoned Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak several times on December 29, the day the Obama announced the expulsion of 35 Russian officials, as well as other measures in retaliation for the hacking. What did Flynn say, and did it undercut the U.S. sanctions? The Logan Act, though never enforced, bars U.S. citizens from correspondence intending to influence a foreign government about disputes with the United States. Was its spirit violated? Remarkably, the leak from a senior U.S. government official to Ignatius cites the same dead law the Justice Department and Yates were investigating, the Logan Act. And the leak to Ignatius aligned with the Justice Department's pre-leak goal, as explained by McCabe, of doing something immediately. Once the leak took place, McCabe writes, Yates felt very strongly that the FBI should inform the new administration about what the FBI had. The threat, says Yates, believed Flynn was now a national security vulnerability. The FBI responded to Justice's sense of urgency by hastening the FBI's own work. On Flynn, McCabe writes, high-ranking FBI officials, including McCabe, FBI General Counsel James Baker, and others decided the agents would not warn Flynn that it was a crime to lie to the agents. They wanted Flynn relaxed. This puts into perspective January 23, 2017, Washington Post article published the day before Flynn's fateful January 24 interview with the FBI, which states that the FBI reviewed Flynn's calls with Kislyak and has not found any evidence of wrongdoing or illicit ties to the Russian government. That same article quotes U.S. officials as saying that Flynn himself is not the active target of an investigation, a claim proven wrong by the Inspector General's December 9, 2019 report on FISA abuse. Flynn had been an active target of a counterintelligence investigation since August 16, 2016. One has to question the timing and purpose of that report and whether it was used to further the FBI's investigative goals. If the FBI wanted Flynn to be at ease during his January 24 interview, that Washington Post article must have certainly helped. Flynn was by all accounts relaxed during the interview with the agents. After Flynn's interview, Yates and DOJ National Security Division NSD lawyer and now Representative Adam Schiff staffer Gary McCord met with Trump's White House counsel Don McGahn on January 26, 2017. They alleged Flynn could be compromised by the Russians and hedged on whether Flynn lied to the agents at his January 24, 2017 interview. Flynn resigned a few weeks later. At the time of the leak of Flynn's calls with Kislyak to the Washington Post, it appears that Tashina Gower handled the national security portfolio for Yates. DOJ records show Gower keeping Yates apprised of FISA court opinions and emails from Yates to Gower regarding FISA meetings in late January 2017. I'm sorry if I'm saying Tashina Gower's name. It's Gauhar. Kind of a tough one. I haven't heard it before. So, according to NSD Deputy Assistant Attorney General George Toscas, Gower had previously worked at the National Security Division. It was formerly the Deputy Assistant General for the Office of Intelligence. All aspects of NSD would go through Gower, he said. She would have been the go-between between NSD and the DOJ leadership offices. It is the NSD's Office of Intelligence that prepares and files all FISA applications. They would have handled the rumored Kislyak FISA warrants. Gower eventually went to work under Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. She was present for the meeting between McCabe and Rosenstein, where Rosenstein allegedly proposed that he could potentially wear a recording device into the Oval Office to collect evidence on President Trump. She also coordinated talking points from Rosenstein to Lisa Page and FBI leadership immediately before Robert Mueller's appointment as special counsel. Gower has since left the Justice Department for the private sector. She has somehow escaped congressional questioning. I hadn't heard the name before, and I've been listening to Dan for a while, so maybe I just missed it. Flynn's lawyer, Sidney Powell, in an October 24, 2019 court filing, alleged that the Office of Net Assessment Director James Baker is believed to be the person who illegally leaked the transcript of Mr. Flynn's calls to Ignatius. So far, this has not been confirmed by the government, and Baker has not been charged. Another theory should be considered. The Justice Department was investigating Flynn for a Logan Act violation, and the FBI rebuffed their pleas to notify the White House of Flynn's conduct. The facts outlined above present compelling questions that deserve answers from the Justice Department. Did the DOJ, Yates, Gower, or anyone else leak or arrange the leak of Flynn's call with Kislyak to get around the FBI's efforts to keep secret the investigation of Flynn? And did they confirm to the Washington Post that Flynn was under investigation for Logan Act violations? Those are good questions. It says, Mr. Miller is an attorney. Interesting. Interesting article. Well, I hope you guys like those two. Kind of a longer video. Sorry about that. But that's the last of the show notes for episode 1190. And I'll see you tomorrow for 1191. Thanks.